The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was a vast place, its high ceilings filled with soft light from panels that floated above like giant glowing clouds. Hundreds of alien races had gathered, each seated in their own sections, talking and whispering in many different voices. The air was alive with colors from the clothes, skin, and armor of those who had come from every corner of the known galaxy. Today was an important day. It was the day Earth would arrive with its first interstellar fleet. For centuries, humanity had been limited to its own solar system, slowly learning how to live beyond their home world. Other civilizations had been spacefaring for thousands of years, and to them, humanity was young and inexperienced. When the announcement came that Earth had joined the Galactic Council and would soon present its first fleet, many expected a modest display. Others expected nothing at all. But most of all, they expected to be entertained. The council chamber had seen many such moments before, when new civilizations showed up with ships that were small, clumsy, and outdated. In the front, rows, the delegates of the Kreth Union were already laughing before the event even began. Their leader, a tall figure with pale scales, leaned toward his neighbor and said in a sharp voice, "Let us see what toys the humans bring." His companion gave a soft chuckle. Around them, others smiled in the same knowing way. The large view screen at the center of the hall lit up. The image of deep space filled the display. Somewhere out there, far from the station, Earth's fleet waited to make its approach. The council's announcer, a calm-voiced member of the Zorain species, spoke to the gathered audience. "Honored delegates, today we welcome the people of Earth to the Galactic Council as a recognized interstellar member. Their fleet approaches. Now!" All eyes turned to the screen as a cluster of ships came into view. They were small compared to the massive carriers and cruisers most empires used. The largest ship was barely the size of a mid-range freighter. Their hulls were plain, without the glowing markings or decorative armor plates common among galactic powers. Their engines burned with a steady blue light, not the bright flares of advanced graviton drives. A murmur passed through the crowd. Then came the first wave of laughter. "Is that all they have?" a representative from the Torel Dominion asked loudly. His voice carried through the chamber. "I have seen mining barges with better weapons. They must have come to the wrong meeting," another voice said from the Varan delegation. "This looks like a cargo shipment." More laughter followed, light at first, then growing louder as the ship slowly approached the station. The humans on board kept their formation steady, moving without any sign of rush or nervousness. But in the council chamber, the mood was one of easy amusement. High above, in the observation balcony, a small group of quiet figures watched without speaking. They were from the Gorth Alliance, a race known for noticing details others missed. One of them, a broad-shouldered figure with dark red eyes, leaned forward slightly. His companion saw the interest and asked, "Do you see something unusual?" The first Gorth nodded slowly. "The humans are not worried. They are being laughed at, yet their leader stands still and calm. There is something they are not saying." In the center of the fleet's formation, the human flagship, named Resolute, kept a steady pace. Inside, Commander Ryan stood at the main viewing deck. He was dressed in a plain Navy uniform without medals or bright colors. His eyes scanned the displays around him. Beside him, his communications officer whispered, "They are laughing, sir." The council chambers are broadcasting their reaction. Ryan's lips curved in a faint smile, but he gave no comment. Instead, he turned toward the helm. "Maintain course and speed. Signal the other ships to keep formation." "Yes, sir," the helmsman replied. The laughter in the council hall reached another wave when one of the smaller human ships passed the camera drone. Its surface bore marks of past repairs, and the weapon turrets looked basic by galactic standards. Back in the hall, the Kreth leader leaned forward and said, "I expected more from a species that survived a homeworld war. It seems the stories were exaggerated." The announcer tried to keep the event formal, but even his tone had a hint of forced politeness as he described the ships. The Terran fleet consists of 7 vessels, each equipped with basic energy weapons, missile systems, and defensive shields. Basic? Someone called out mockingly. The audience chuckled again. To them, it seemed Earth had arrived with its entire military strength, and it was far below what was common in the galaxy. No one thought to ask why the humans would travel so far to present such a small and unimpressive force. Commander Rian's voice broke the quiet on the Resolute. Transmit the welcome message as planned. No changes. The communications officer nodded and began sending a polite greeting to the council. It was the standard introduction, thanking the council for its recognition and promising cooperation in the years ahead. Nothing in the message hinted at what was truly happening. In the corner of the council chamber, a few of the quieter delegates watched with a different expression. They had seen this before, not from humans, but from other civilizations that hid their strength until the right moment. Yet the crowd's mood was too loud for their quiet thoughts to be noticed. The human fleet drew closer to the station, passing under the bright lights of the council's outer defense ring. The station's scanners recorded every detail. The sea, size, the weapons, the energy readings, all confirmed the same thing. Earth's technology was far behind the rest of the galaxy, and so the laughter continued, filling the hall with a sense of easy superiority. Only a handful of beings, scattered among the many rows of seats, noticed that Commander Ryan's eyes never left the main view screen. He stood there, calm and unshaken, as if the mocking voices were nothing more than background noise. His posture was the posture of someone who was waiting, not for the end of this ceremony, but for something else entirely. Far away, beyond the range of the council's sensors, something enormous slept in the darkness between stars. The ceremony inside the Galactic Council chamber continued, filled with polite speeches and exaggerated smiles. The laughter from earlier had faded, replaced by a dull boredom as the audience assumed nothing exciting would happen. Earth's small fleet was now docked at the main station, its ships resting quietly beside the massive vessels of older civilizations. On board the Resolute, Commander Rian stood in the main operations room, listening to the voice of the council announcer echoing through the public broadcast. The announcer spoke of peace, unity, and cooperation, but Ryan's mind was on something else. He was waiting for a signal, one that would not be noticed by anyone outside a very small circle of people. The communications officer leaned closer to him. Message from station control, sir. They are requesting the ceremonial system scan of our ships. Rian gave a slow nod. Approve the scan. Send them what they expect to see. At the far end of the room, 2 technicians began working quickly, filtering all outgoing data. The scans would show the ships as they appeared, lightly armed with outdated engines and simple shields. There would be no sign of the truth hidden deep within their systems. Across the council station, alien technicians studied the scan results and exchanged knowing glances. Exactly as predicted, one said to another. They barely have enough firepower to defend a mining outpost. Back in the council chamber, the Kreth leader leaned back in his seat with a satisfied expression. If this is Earth's full fleet, they will remain a minor world for centuries. His words were met with quiet agreement from the delegates around him. Ryan listened to none of this. His focus shifted to a secure panel near the side wall. With a brief code entered on the keypad, the panel opened to reveal a small black device, no larger than a book. Its surface had no markings, no visible lights. It was a transmitter, one that did not use any standard galactic frequency. He spoke quietly to the communications officer. Prepare the coded burst, 3 seconds only. Send it on my mark. The officer hesitated. Yes, sir. But once we... Send it! The clock starts! I know, Ryan said, his voice calm. Send it! The officer pressed a single button, and the device released a short, silent pulse into the void. The council's sensors did not notice it. Even the most advanced scanning systems in the station could not detect the signal's path. It vanished into the darkness between stars, heading toward a point in space that no one in the chamber even knew existed. Thousands of light years away, the pulse reached its destination. In the cold shadow of a barren world, a fleet of ships stirred to life. They were enormous, their hulls dark and smooth, built not for ceremony, but for war. Each one carried weapons that could shatter entire formations in a single strike. Engines roared quietly to life, though no sound reached the void. This was the real Terran fleet, the fleet no one had seen, the fleet no one even believed existed. On the council station, everything appeared calm. The human delegates continued their polite greetings, smiling as they exchanged handshakes with alien leaders. The council cameras captured every moment for the public archives. None of it gave away the fact that Earth's true power was now moving through space toward an unknown destination. In a quieter corner of the chamber, a member of the Gorth Alliance still watched the humans closely. He had seen that moment when Ryan's eyes shifted toward the side wall of the Resolute. It was brief, but it was enough to plant suspicion. He turned to his fellow Gorth and spoke in a low voice. "Something is wrong. The humans are not what they seem." His companion frowned. "We have no proof. You know the others will not listen." "They will listen when it is too late," the first replied. Meanwhile, Ryan returned to the viewing deck of the Resolute. Through the wide window, he could see the massive station structure stretching out in all directions, glowing with soft light. Beyond it, the galaxy looked calm, the stars unmoving in the distance. He folded his hands behind his back. The helmsman spoke from his seat. "Sir, Station Control has approved our fleet's entry into the Council's defensive zone. We are cleared to stay for the rest of the event." Ryan nodded. "Understood. Keep the ships in current position. Maintain normal power output. No sudden moves." "Yes, sir." Every step was part of the plan. The small fleet would remain here, visible to everyone, while the real fleet stayed out of sight. No one would suspect anything until it was too late to stop it. Hours passed with more speeches and formal exchanges. Alien leaders spoke about trade routes, resource sharing, and mutual defense. Ryan answered politely when approached, giving nothing away in his words or tone. Far from the station, the real Terran fleet began its silent approach. The ships traveled in perfect formation, each one equipped with advanced stealth systems that kept them invisible to common detection. Their path would take them to a staging point on the edge of council space, a location chosen with care to avoid drawing early attention. Back on the station, some of the more curious delegates began to wonder why the humans had come with so few ships. Perhaps they sent most of their fleet elsewhere, one suggested. But the thought was quickly dismissed. The idea of Earth having more powerful ships simply did not seem possible to them. Commander Rian knew that was the greatest advantage they had, the galaxy's certainty that humanity was weak. It was an advantage that had taken years to build. Every public display of Terran ships had been carefully planned to appear underwhelming. Every shared technical detail was incomplete. The galaxy had been shown only what Earth wanted them to see. Now, with the coded signal sent and the real fleet moving, the next phase was close. Ryan did not feel excitement or pride. He felt readiness, the quiet focus of someone who had trained for a moment that would change the balance of power in the galaxy. He glanced once more at the view screen showing the council chamber. Delegates were laughing again at a harmless joke made by one of their own. None of them noticed that in the black space beyond their station, the future was already on its way. The ceremony ended with polite applause. Delegates rose from their seats, talking in small groups as they prepared to leave the Great Hall. The human representatives walked calmly toward their assigned quarters, still wearing the same steady expressions they had kept since their arrival. In one of the smaller meeting rooms off the main chamber, a group of alien leaders gathered around a long table. They spoke in low voices, but the tone was not friendly. The Kreth leader, pale scales glinting under the lights, leaned forward. "This is the perfect moment," he said. "They came here to be recognized. We will give them a test, one they cannot pass." A representative from the Toral Dominion gave a short laugh. "You mean a demonstration battle?" "Yes. That will show everyone their true limits." "They have only 7 ships," another delegate added. "Our smallest patrol squad could handle them." The idea spread quickly among the aggressive empires. If the humans were as weak as they appeared, the demonstration would humiliate them in front of the galaxy. If somehow they were stronger, it would still reveal their capabilities. Either way, the challengers saw it as a win. Within the hour, an official request was sent to the human delegation. The message was written in polite language, but the meaning was clear. Earth was invited to take part in a friendly combat exercise against a mixed fleet from several member worlds. The event would be broadcast live to the Council. Commander. Ryan received the request aboard the Resolute. He read it twice, his eyes narrowing slightly. The communications officer waited for his reaction. "Shall I draft a polite refusal?" the officer asked. Ryan shook his head. "No, we will accept." The officer hesitated. "Sir, they want to embarrass us." "They will not succeed," Ryan said calmly. "Prepare the reply. Inform them we are honored to take part." When the acceptance message reached the Council, the news spread quickly through the station. Many laughed openly. Others nodded in approval, eager to see the humans tested. A few, like the Gorth observers, felt an uneasy twist in their thoughts. The location for the demonstration was chosen, a wide stretch of empty space beyond the station's defensive zone. It was close enough for observers to watch, but far enough to avoid damage to the station. The battle would be non-lethal, with weapons tuned to disable rather than destroy. The next day, the council chamber filled again. Large displays showed the 2 fleets preparing in open space. On one side floated the 7 small Terran ships. On the other, a group of 20 vessels from the Kreth, Torel, and Varan navies. The alien ships were larger, faster, and armed, with the latest galactic weapons. Commentators from different worlds began their introductions, their voices broadcast throughout the station. "Today we see the Terran fleet in its first public combat trial. On paper, the odds are not in their favor, but perhaps they will surprise us." The audience laughed at the suggestion. Most expected the fight to be over in minutes. Inside the Resolute, Commander Ryan stood at the center of the command deck. His officers worked quietly at their stations, checking weapon systems and shields. The helmsman spoke. "Sir, enemy fleet in position. They are powering weapons." "Hold formation," Ryan ordered. "Shields to standard strength. Do not engage until my signal." The alien fleet moved first, spreading out in a wide arc. Energy beams flashed across the void, striking the human ships. Shields flared, holding for the moment but weakening under the assault. In the council chamber, the crowd cheered. One of the Terran escorts took a direct hit to its engines and slowed. Another was forced to turn away from the barrage. The commentators began announcing the inevitable. "It seems Earth's fleet will not last long. Their shields are already failing." Ryan remained calm. "Transmit pattern Delta," he ordered. The communications officer sent a short-coded message. Out in the black beyond normal sensor range, something stirred. Far away, the real Terran fleet received the signal. Massive carriers and destroyers changed course, heading toward the demonstration zone at full speed. Their arrival time, 5 minutes. Back in the battle zone, the alien ships pressed harder. Several Terran vessels drifted out of formation, looking as if they were about to be defeated. The Kreth leader smiled in the council chamber. "They will be out of the fight before the minute ends," but Ryan gave a single order. "All ships, hold positions. Keep weapons cold." His officers followed without question. "For the watching." crowd, it looked like surrender. For the Terran crews, it was the final step before the trap closed. The alien ships began to move in for the final strike. They wanted to end it quickly, to leave no doubt about the outcome. Their lead cruiser charged its main cannon, aiming at the Resolute. Then space behind the Terran fleet rippled. The darkness split open as the first of the hidden warships emerged. A massive battleship slid into view, its hull dark as midnight, lit only by the faint glow of weapon ports. Behind it came another and another, until the void was filled with towering shapes of steel and armor. Each ship was many times larger than the Resolute. Railgun turrets rotated into position, missile bays opened, and shield generators powered up with a deep hum that could almost be felt through the void. Alien commentators fell silent. The cheering in the council chamber stopped mid-breath. Even the most confident delegates stared at the displays, unable to believe what they were seeing. Commander Rian's voice was steady. "All ships, battle condition 1, engage at will." Demonstration was no longer a one-sided contest, and the galaxy was about to learn the truth. The moment the real Terran fleet appeared, the entire battle zone seemed to change. What had been a small, one-sided contest now looked like the opening move of something far greater. The dark, massive shapes of Earth's hidden warships moved into position with silent precision, their engines glowing faintly in the cold void. On the Resolute, Commander Ryan stood firm at the center of the command deck. Around him, his crew moved quickly but without panic. They had trained for this. "Moment for years. Target enemy flagship," Rian said. "Bring railguns online. Ready missile batteries 2 and 3. The weapons officer's hands moved over the console. "Target locked. Railguns charged." Out in space, the alien fleet hesitated. The Kreth cruiser that had been preparing to fire at the Resolute now faced a wall of steel and firepower it had never imagined. Its captain shouted orders, but hesitation was spreading among the crews of the other alien ships. They had come expecting to face 7 outdated vessels. They now faced dozens of warships larger and stronger than anything they had deployed. The first shot came from the Terran battleship Titan. A railgun slug the size of a shuttle shot through space at incredible speed. It tore through the shields of a Tyrell destroyer and ripped a clean hole through its central hull. The destroyer spun out of formation, its systems going dark. The crowd in the Galactic Council chamber gasped. The commentators fell silent for a long moment before one finally found his voice. That was a direct hit. The Tyrell destroyer is out of the fight. The alien fleet scrambled to respond, opening fire with energy beams and plasma bursts. Bright streams of light crossed the void, striking the Terran ships, but the real fleet's shields absorbed the hits without serious damage. "Return fire," Ryan ordered. The void lit up. Missiles streaked from Terran launch bays, splitting into dozens of smaller projectiles that struck the enemy from multiple angles. Energy blasts followed, aimed at weak points that Terran intelligence had identified months earlier. Every hit was calculated, every move precise. Within the first 2 minutes, 3 enemy ships were disabled, their weapons silent and engines offline. The rest of the alien fleet began pulling back, trying to regroup. On the station, the Kreth leader gripped the edge of his seat, his earlier smirk gone. "Where did they get this kind of power?" he whispered. In the observation balcony, the Gorth representative leaned forward with quiet satisfaction. "I told you," he murmured, to his companion. They were never as weak as they appeared. Back in the battle zone, the alien ships tried a counterattack. A group of fast Varan interceptors darted toward the Titan, hoping to slip past its heavy guns. But the Terran destroyer spearhead broke formation and intercepted them, its smaller railguns firing in quick bursts. 2 interceptors were hit and spun away. The others turned back under heavy missile fire. Ryan kept his voice steady. "Do not chase them. Maintain formation. We hold the center." The Terran fleet moved like a single organism, each ship covering the other's blind spots. This discipline made it impossible for the alien fleet to find a weak point. Meanwhile, Terran drones, small, fast, and difficult to track, zipped through the battle, jamming enemy sensors and cutting off their communications. On the Council's main screen, the alien fleet's formation broke apart. Ships were scattering, no longer moving as one. The commentators' voices were now tinged with disbelief. This was meant to be a simple test. But the humans, they are overwhelming their opponents. Inside the Resolute, the communications officer reported, "Enemy flagship is signaling retreat." "Deny them the chance," Ryan said. "Disable their engines, but do not destroy the ship." The Titan fired again. Another railgun slug struck the Kreth flagship's rear section, blasting away its main thrusters. The ship drifted helplessly. At this point, the council chamber was silent. Delegates who had laughed earlier now leaned forward with tense faces. A few exchanged uneasy glances. This was no longer entertainment. This was a show of dominance. The alien fleet's last organized push came from a group of Tyrell cruisers, forming a defensive line around their remaining ships. They fired everything they had, beams and missiles filling the space between them and the Terrans. Ryan waited until they were fully committed, then gave the order. "Flank them. Group 3, left side. Group 4, right side, now." 2 Terran. Strike groups broke off and swept around the enemy line, hitting them from both flanks at the same time. In minutes, the Tyrell cruisers were disabled, their shields shattered. The battle's outcome was now certain. The Terran fleet held complete control of the zone. Of the 20 enemy ships, only 5 still had power, and those were retreating, as fast as their damaged engines allowed. Rian stood with his hands clasped behind his back. "Hold fire! Let them go! The message has been sent." The weapons fell silent. Across the void, drifting ships and burning wreckage marked the battlefield. The Terran fleet, nearly untouched, remained in perfect formation. On the council station, the silence in the chamber stretched on. No one dared speak first. The images on the large screens told the story clearly. Earth had turned what was supposed to be a humiliating defeat into a flawless victory. The Kreth leader finally broke the silence. His voice was low and sharp. "This changes everything." The observation balcony, the Gorth representative allowed himself a faint smile. "Yes," he said, "it does." Far from the council chamber, the Terran fleet began to move again, not toward Earth, but toward a rally point beyond the stations. Sensors. They had revealed their power, but only part of it, and Commander Rian knew this was only the beginning. The battle zone was quiet now. Enemy ships drifted without power, their lights dim, while the victorious Terran fleet held formation. The smoke of damaged hulls faded into the endless dark. From the Resolute, Commander Ryan surveyed the scene without a word. "Status report," he said calmly. "All Terran vessels operational," the operations officer replied. "Minor shield stress on the spearhead. No hull breaches. Enemy forces are retreating or disabled." Ryan gave a short nod. "Good. Begin recovery of our drones. Maintain defensive posture until further orders." The crew moved quickly, but their motions were steady, not rushed. They had done exactly what they had trained for, and they had done it without fear. Back on the Galactic Council station, the chamber was filled with uneasy silence. Delegates who had mocked the humans earlier now spoke in low voices, some glancing toward the human representatives seated in the visitors section. One of the Tyrell commentators, voice shaking, spoke into the broadcast channel. "This outcome is unexpected. The Terran fleet has shown advanced coordination and weaponry far beyond what was previously believed." In the observation balcony, the Gorth representative leaned forward, watching the screens closely. "You see," he said quietly to his companion, "that was not even their full strength." The companion frowned. Not their full strength? How could there be more? The Gorth's gaze remained on the displays. Watch. You will understand. Out in the battle zone, Ryan stepped closer to the main communications console. Signal command, he said to the officer. Authorization code Alpha 72. Priority channel. The officer keyed in the code. Channel ready, sir. This is Ryan, the commander said, his voice low and controlled. Execute Operation Horizon. All units proceed to Phase 2. Bring in the rest. The message went out on a secure frequency, one that no alien system could track. In deep space, far from the Council's sensors, massive shapes began to move. The hidden Terran fleet, the true fleet, had been waiting for this moment. What had already stunned the galaxy was only a fraction of what humanity had prepared. One by one, enormous warships emerged from their concealed positions, carriers longer than entire cities, battleships with hulls thick enough to withstand the combined fire of several fleets, escort vessels bristling with weapons flanking them on both sides. Even support ships, mobile repair yards, medical stations, and supply carriers moved with the same precise formation as the warships. From above the Council station, the first wave of these new arrivals came into view. Their numbers seemed endless, spreading across the stars until the background was filled with Terran steel and light. Gasps and murmurs filled the Council chamber. Delegates leaned forward, some rising from their seats to get a better look at the screens. Is this all theirs? One asked in disbelief. Yes, another replied, voice unsteady. Every one of them bears the Terran crest. On the broadcast channel, the commentators could barely keep their composure. What we are witnessing is the arrival of an additional Terran force, vastly larger than the fleet that just fought. The number of ships now exceeds... I cannot count. This is unprecedented. The Kreth leader, who had spoken with such confidence before, now sat back in his chair, his jaw tight. He did not speak. Back in the battle zone, the original Terran, warships shifted to make space as the new arrivals took their positions. The formations expanded outward, forming a defensive sphere around the disabled alien ships, a clear message that humanity now controlled the area completely. Ryan watched the displays as more and more ships appeared. His second officer stepped up beside him. Sir, total count is now over 200 vessels, and more are inbound. Maintain discipline, Ryan said. No unnecessary movements. I want every ship ready to respond if needed. Yes, sir. The sheer size of the assembled Terran fleet was overwhelming. Against such numbers, no single Council member's navy could stand. Even combined, the galaxy's most powerful empires would find such a fight costly and uncertain. For many in the Council chamber, the realization was slow but inescapable. Earth was not just a minor member of the galaxy. Earth was now a major power. The Gorth representative finally spoke aloud, his voice carrying in the hushed chamber. They let you think they were weak. They let you laugh. And while you laughed, they built this. On the Resolute, Ryan received the readiness report from the newly arrived commanders. Every ship was in perfect condition, every crew prepared. The message was clear. If the Council or its member states wanted to test Earth again, the result would be far worse than today's demonstration. But Ryan had no interest in starting a war. His orders were simple: show strength and then stand down. Humanity had nothing to prove beyond this. He turned to the communications officer. Open a general channel to the Council chamber. A moment later, his voice filled the Great Hall. Honored members of the Galactic Council, the demonstration is over. The Terran fleet will return to its assigned patrol sectors. We thank you for this opportunity to prove our readiness. It was a polite statement, but no one in the chamber missed the meaning behind his words. This was not just readiness. It was dominance. The connection closed. In the Council chamber, the silence continued. No one laughed now. No one dared to speak lightly of Earth again. Out in space, the Terran fleet began to turn in perfect unison, the carriers and battleships moving as smoothly as a single machine. Their engines glowed as they slipped back toward the darkness of deep space, leaving the Council's territory as quietly as they had entered it. But the memory of what they had revealed would remain. And across the galaxy, every leader now knew. Humanity's place was not at the bottom of the Council's hierarchy. It was somewhere far higher, and perhaps one day, at the very top. After the arrival of the full Terran fleet, the galaxy's leaders were shaken. On the Galactic Council station, delegates whispered anxiously, reassessing what they had just witnessed. What had begun as a minor demonstration now clearly displayed Earth's overwhelming power. Even as the Terran fleet moved away from the station, the aggressive empires were not willing to admit defeat. The Kreth, Terrell, and Varen forces regrouped in the nearby sector, hoping to salvage what remained of their pride. They began coordinating their remaining ships to form a defensive line, believing their numbers could still challenge humanity. Commander Rian watched from the Resolute as the alien ships attempted to reorganize. He did not feel anger or pride, only careful observation. "They are trying to test us again," he said calmly. "Let them." His second officer, Leah, nodded. "Shall we engage, sir?" Ryan shook his head. "Not yet. Observe. Gather data. We strike only where necessary." The aliens opened fire again, beams and missiles crossing the void. But now, the Terran fleet did not react impulsively. Every movement was precise, every countermeasure deliberate. Drones deployed to intercept missiles, shields adjusted to absorb energy strikes, and electronic warfare units scrambled enemy sensors. Every attack by the aliens was measured, and every effort was neutralized before it could cause real harm. The alien commanders realized quickly that Earth's forces were no ordinary fleet. The Terran ships seemed to anticipate every move, moving as though the entire fleet shared a single mind. Attempted flanking maneuvers were blocked by ships that had already predicted the course. Missile salvos were neutralized in mid-flight. Even the smallest Terran destroyers acted as if they were part of a perfect system. From the Council station, delegates watched the unfolding battle in stunned silence. Their expectation of a simple test was gone. The Terrans were demonstrating not just power, but strategy, discipline, and coordination far beyond anything seen in the galaxy. Ryan gave calm orders from the Resolute. "Deploy secondary drones. Engage electronic disruption. Target weak points in their formation. Avoid unnecessary destruction. Disable only." The Terran fleet moved with silent efficiency. Swarms of small drones slipped past alien defenses, jamming communications and sensor arrays. The alien ships became disoriented, unable to coordinate effectively. As their formations broke, the larger Terran vessels fired carefully, targeting engines and weapon systems, leaving the crews alive but powerless. In minutes, half of the remaining alien ships were immobilized, drifting in space with shields down and weapons offline. Their attempts to regroup were futile. Every counterattack was anticipated and neutralized. The Kreth leader on the Council station stood, fists clenched. "They are controlling everything. How is this possible?" The Gorth observer leaned forward, his voice low and certain. "This is not brute force. This is mastery of strategy. They have studied every move and planned for every possibility. Humanity has turned the battle into a demonstration of their intellect as well as their power." On the battlefield, the Terran fleet maintained perfect formation, ensuring that no enemy ship could escape without being observed. The Resolute and Titan coordinated their attacks with smaller ships, creating a web of control across the void. "Status report?" Ryan asked. "All enemy vessels in range disabled or retreating." "Sir," the communications officer replied. "No Terran ship has sustained significant damage." Ryan's eyes narrowed slightly. "Good. Keep pressure high but measured. Let them understand the consequences of aggression without unnecessary destruction." The remaining alien ships hesitated. Their leaders realized they had miscalculated Earth's strength. The hope of regaining control vanished as they watched their most advanced vessels immobilized one by one. The alien crews, trained for years in galactic combat, felt fear creeping in for the first time. From the council chamber, delegates whispered nervously, "They are not just strong, they are perfect in their execution." "Discipline and strategy," another voice said. "It is more than technology. Humanity thinks like a single entity." The Terran fleet did not pursue the retreating ships too far. They kept them under observation, ensuring that the lesson was clear without needlessly escalating the battle. Every move conveyed dominance and control, showing that Earth's power was not just in weapons, but in tactical intelligence and precision. Commander Rian finally allowed himself a short sigh of satisfaction. "They understand now," he said, quietly. "They will think twice before underestimating us again." "Shall we return to standard patrol routes?" Leah asked. "Yes. Maintain formation until all units are clear of the area. No signs of aggression beyond this demonstration." "The lesson is enough," Ryan replied. As the Terran fleet began to move away, the disabled alien ships drifted silently. Communications were jammed temporarily to prevent panic or chaos among the crews, giving the Terrans complete control of the scene. The scale of what had been accomplished was clear. The galaxy had witnessed the intelligence, coordination, and power of humanity in full display. Back at the council station, the Kreth leader sat heavily. We underestimated them. Entirely." The Gorth observer finally allowed a small nod. "This is the future of the galaxy. If humanity chooses, no empire can challenge them easily. Today was not just a demonstration of weapons, it was a demonstration of dominance and planning." Commander Ryan looked once more at the battle reports on his screen. The mission had succeeded perfectly. Every target had been disabled. Every principle of restraint followed. The galaxy had been shown the full extent of human capability, and no one would forget it. In the vast emptiness of space, the Terran fleet moved as one, silent, controlled, and precise. They had shown the galaxy that Earth was no longer a minor member. They had proven their strategy, their strength, and their discipline, and the message was clear. Humanity was ready to stand among the stars as an equal, and none would dare challenge them again. The dust of battle had settled, though no physical debris remained near the Galactic Council station. The disabled alien ships had drifted far away, still under observation, but they were no longer an immediate threat. Across the galaxy, word of the Terran fleet's power spread quickly. Communications that could not be hidden carried reports, images, and speculation from stunned council delegates. Inside the Resolute, Commander Ryan watched the reports come in. Sensors confirmed that all Terran ships were intact and fully operational. The full fleet, both the demonstration ships and the hidden reinforcements, maintained perfect formation as they moved to assigned patrol routes. "Sir," Leah said, standing. "At the console, the Council and neighboring systems are requesting a message. They want clarification on the scale of the fleet and Earth's intentions." Ryan did not hesitate. "Prepare a formal statement. Keep it clear, polite, and firm. Humanity's message must be understood without threat, yet leave no doubt about our capabilities." The message went out through official channels. On the council station, delegates paused to hear it. The voice of Commander Ryan was calm, steady, and authoritative. "Honored members of the Galactic Council and representatives of neighboring civilizations," he began, "Earth has demonstrated its readiness to join the galaxy as a capable and responsible member. The fleet you observe today is sufficient to defend our homeworld and allies. Our purpose is not conquest or aggression. Our purpose is cooperation, stability, and mutual respect." Silence filled the chamber. Every delegate listened carefully. Even those who had previously mocked humanity felt the weight of the words. Rian, Continued, we trust that future interactions will be based on mutual understanding. Let today be a reminder that no civilization should underestimate another. Respect, strategy, and preparation are the foundations of security for all. The statement concluded without threat, yet the message was clear. Humanity had shown strength, intelligence, and restraint. Across the council station, the Kreth leader sat back heavily in his chair. His pride had been challenged, but he could not deny the truth. "We misjudged them," he muttered. "Completely." Other delegates nodded, in agreement. The alien civilizations had learned a valuable lesson. The humans were not merely powerful. They were precise, disciplined, and capable of using their strength responsibly. In the observation balcony, the Gorth representative allowed himself a small, approving smile. The galaxy has seen a demonstration of both strength and intelligence. Earth has earned its place among the stars. Far from the Council, the Terran fleet returned to patrol routes throughout known space. Each ship remained in perfect formation, ready for orders, yet moving with calm assurance. No one dared to challenge them. The demonstration had been sufficient. Earth's reputation had been established. Commander Ryan reviewed the last reports of the engagement. Every disabled alien ship had been accounted for, and no unnecessary casualties had occurred. Every move had been controlled. Every action had conveyed a clear message. Humanity was not to be underestimated. "Sir," Leah said, "communication channels are now filled with requests for further cooperation, alliances, and technology exchange. Some empires are even offering formal recognition of our strategic position." Ryan nodded. "We will respond with caution, respect, and clarity. Humanity has proven its strength, but diplomacy is the tool we will use to secure lasting peace." Across the galaxy, leaders began to send representatives to Earth, requesting visits, negotiations, and treaties. The mockery that had greeted humans only days before was now replaced with cautious respect. No one laughed at Earth again. On board the Resolute, Ryan allowed himself a brief moment to look out at the stars. The galaxy stretched endlessly before him, vast and full of possibilities. Humanity had stepped forward confidently, showing both power and wisdom. This was the first step toward a larger role among the stars. The crew moved about their stations, calm but aware of the significance of their actions. For them, the demonstration had been not just a battle, but a confirmation of their training, their discipline, and their unity. Every officer, every sailor, had played a part in establishing humanity's place in the galaxy. Ryan finally turned to his officers. "Today, we have sent a message to every corner of known space. It is a message of strength, strategy, and restraint. Remember it. Build on it. Humanity's role is just beginning." The officers nodded silently. The weight of responsibility was clear, but so was the pride. They had done what few civilizations could ever achieve. They had transformed the perception of humanity overnight. Back on the council station, the delegates began holding emergency meetings. Formerly aggressive powers now approached discussions with caution. Negotiations would happen. Alliances would shift, and the influence of Earth would grow rapidly. The galaxy had recognized a new power, one not defined merely by ships or weapons, but by intelligence, coordination, and restraint. As the Terran fleet continued its patrol, Commander Ryan allowed himself a faint smile. Humanity had arrived among the stars not through brute force alone, but through careful planning, discipline, and demonstration of their full capabilities. In the quiet of space, the fleet glided onward, silent but formidable. Humanity's place in the galaxy was secure, and respect had been earned. From this day forward, no one would look at Earth as weak or insignificant, and in that moment, for the first time in history, humanity was fully recognized, not as a small, struggling world, but as a true power among the stars.